All right, what's going on, good people? I just coming off the heels of a pretty good show. Kind of did an impromptu debate with Travis from the Gold Chains Kingdom, for part two, like an impromptu rematch or whatnot. Want to do an official one. If we're going to debate on that same subject, it seems like again, guys love to debate these players, bro. I personally, look, I can debate any player versus any player, you know, given reasonable, like, look, Kobe versus LeBron is a reasonable debate. And anybody that thinks it's not, bro, whatever. But anyway, coming off of that, we're getting ready for the conference finals. And I've heard a lot of this Knick talk, man. A lot of, look, the Knicks on a lot of people's minds. We're celebrating, we're happy. Yes, it's funny, the people who say, you need to act like you've been there. Even the Molly Caram will throw that at Stephen A. Smith. And again, Stephen A. Smith, he's a fraud. I don't want to hear what Stephen A. Smith has to say about the Knicks, because he still thinks somehow that the Celtics lost that series and the Knicks didn't win that series. He still believes people, and this goes to show you, he's not, like, he was supposedly at those games, but I don't know if he was in the Boston game, but somehow he thinks Boston got 46 wide open shots in the first two games that they missed. Bullshit. Okay, the same shots that were classified as open for the Celtics, the Knicks missed at the same clip. So, again, when it comes to these guys, but you get a lot of chatter, a lot of talk about Knicks fans. Again, we are deep. We are a little thirsty. I can admit that. We are a little thirsty. And we got 2 rounds in front of us. So my feeling is we have a golden opportunity. We have a team that we should be heavily favored. I see 4.5. And so they're not lending to the regular season like they did. And again, Vegas, that's your business. If we're 4.5 point favorites at home, that means you probably think they're maybe 2 point favorites when they're at home, and you think these teams are equal. Okay, cool. One thing I'll say is Indiana, just like Minnesota, and they're a team that did play well down the stretch, completely well down the stretch. Of course, one of their losses down the stretch went to the Knicks, handily. I think it was to the Knicks with no Brunson as well. Look, man, I look at these things from a matchup perspective, period. Purely a matchup perspective. That's the way you have to judge playoff basketball. And then you also have to take into account playoff experience. So I think relatively, again, this whole Pacers team got to the conference finals last year. So the experience factor, it's not like it's not like they don't know what the playoff bright lights are about. And, again, the Knicks have 5 guys that played in the Western Conference Finals. That being P.J. Tucker, Campaign, Mikal Bridges, and Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns have all played. Like, Karl-Anthony Towns played last year in the Western Conference Finals. So, this is back-to-back Western Conference Finals for him. Other than that, he doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. I get that part. But, you're talking about a guy, like, you've seen it. Like, he went up against the Joker and played very well. Okay? So, so did Alex Caruso. But, you get what I'm going at. Like, so the experience factor, both teams have, again, this Knicks group, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby has a championship, right? There's no I know he was a young buck, young pup with the Toronto Raptors when they won in 2019, but that's on his resume. So, showing up, warming up, being counted on. Everybody has that factor. The fact of the matter is, like, if we're gonna look at last year's matchup, and I believe they didn't have Benedict Mathurin, the Pacers for most of that series. They did have Aaron Nesmith. They did have Aaron Nesmith. I mean, obviously the Knicks were without OG Anunoby after the game 2. Brunson had the little foot problem in game 2. Was healthy up until he broke his hand early in that, like before halftime or right after halftime in game 7. By then, I mean, again, I'm like, if I'm going to say this with I'm not going to use that as a factor, but again, the Knicks were losing like 23 points, 24 points a game from Julius Randle that they never had. Amazing defense from Mitchell Robinson. Obviously, OG's his 16, 17 points and his ability to lock perimeter players down. And, Bogdanovich, who could, again, get you anything from 10 to 20 off the bench. So they were missing that. And if you're going to judge that from last year, for all you guys that are Indiana and going to win this easily, and Indiana, look, I can say this. Indiana's playing very well in the playoffs. They did catch some teams kind of slipping, right? I mean, Milwaukee was the one to give them a fight until what happened with Dame. Yeah, you got a guy that lost. You got a guy that lost early in the game. Lost to Achilles injuries. I'm not. Dame wasn't as important as Tatum was to the Celtics, but again, he was important. They traded a lot to get him. They gave up a lot of their championship medal to get him, and so and again, Cleveland had a big lead, 19-point lead in the first half. Seemed like that locker room is fractured. That team is fractured. So they got to take some blame. But Indiana's here. Like, Indiana's back in the conference finals. Caught an injured team in the second round again, right? Okay, here's what it is. They can't apologize for it. They got to take advantage of it. You got to take advantage of it. So that being that, it's the Knicks are going to play against Indiana. It's going, there's the Knicks, Pacers. I mean, wow. You're talking about, really, from the 90s on now, you're talking about, seems like when the Knicks are in the playoffs, at least, they catch Indiana and vice versa. And vice versa. Seems like we were always in each other's path, right? I was what kind of, look, I felt from the beginning of the playoffs, and I'm trying not to be arrogant, and I'm trying not to dismiss what I've seen from Indiana in the playoffs. They play well. I've said this in every playoff series that I got a chance to preview. They have a puncher's chance. I haven't seen them play defense well. Apparently they, made some defense adjustments. I did see a lot of Game 5 against the Cavs. I did see a lot of Game 1 and Game 2. This is a different animal, guys. This is a different animal. The Knicks right now, and I've said this a lot of times, this Knicks team, this might be the best offensive starting five we've ever had. There's not a weak link. All right, yeah. It might be a weakness in the strategy we play. It might be a little bit too much Brunson dribbling and waiting for other guys to kind of do something. But you got five guys that are capable of scoring 50 points. Now, I know a lot of people say that the Pacers got a better bench, which, yeah, they use their bench. They go to their bench. But that's only at the expense that the Knicks play their starters longer. And that could be that could be a reason why nobody really is in the playoffs now. Nobody on the Pacers averages over 18, right? In the season, their leader scores 20. So they go to a variety of scores. My thing is, again, I said this, the Pacers have not proven to me in the last 2 years that they can play in a game that's like tight down the stretch. The Pacers are a team that have to knock you out early, and that showed in the playoffs last year. I mean, I know they did have again. They hit the Neesmith 3 in Game 3 to avoid going down 3-0. If y'all can remember, the Knicks were up 2-0 in that series, so they hit a big Neesmith 3. I believe they came. Oh yeah, they did come back and tie 2-2. Knicks went up by a blowout 3-2. They blew us out 4-2. But again, like I said, the Knicks were really, if it weren't for that Neesmith play and a variety of calls, the Knicks, look, the Knicks are a different team this year. So, the Knicks are a different team, but they're better offensively. And they might not be as good rebounding and defensively, but as I said many times, and I've demonstrated with Mitchell Robinson in the lineup, it's been night and day. Again, with OG Anunoby, night and day. See, that's the thing. They went 4-1 on a team that had no OG Anunoby, and I know OG Anunoby tried to play in game. He gave you 5 minutes, and it was nothing there. That hamstring was just not ready to go. So I know he tweaked it a little bit. He tweaked the same hamstring, just a little bit. I mean, you didn't see much evidence in the Boston series at all that he couldn't get the job done. And that's again, Mikal Bridges wasn't on this team. Josh Hart seems to be close to 100%. It's gonna be a war. It's gonna be a match-out war. But I like the Knicks jumping on the Pacers. I don't see it going no longer than 6, but I'm predicting officially 5, and I would not be surprised if the Knicks sweep. If I saw some Vegas odds, I saw the 4-3 is the most likely, like 19%. They think there's a 19% chance of the Knicks winning at 7. They also think there's a 18% chance of the Knicks winning at 5. So really, they don't like us closing out in Philly, and Indiana. I think the next likely scenario was Indy in 6. And again, that means they still won at the Garden and they host over at home. The Knicks can go in Indiana and win. Again, 2-1 in the season. The Knicks' second game of the season blew out Indiana by 25 points. No, actually blew them out by, it was 118-93. Tyrese Halliburton didn't score a point. Now, the next game, Tyrese Halliburton and Benedict Mathurin, it was Mathurin. Mathurin dropped 38. Again, he was on fire that night. That's what they're going to need. They're going to need a big variety of that, and they're not a team that rely on these guys to get 40 points because, they play 11, 10, 11 guys. They're like OKC without the defense. And that's the key. They're like OKC without the defense. And they don't have a dominant scorer the way SGA is. So, I'm going to get into that probably tomorrow. This is not the optimistic Knicks fan. I'm going to do the optimistic Knicks fan tomorrow. I just want to kind of throw out. I want to segue over to the Boston and kind of put them a bit because I'm still yapping with Boston fans, and I'm still yapping with. Seems like Boston and Pacers are in cahoots, which okay. Makes sense. Larry Bird is an Indiana guy. Went from your organization straight to Indiana. Seems like Boston and Indiana got this little compadre thing. But it's funny because I get Pistons fans. And so look. It's New York versus everybody, especially over here in the East. We had Laker fans backing us going up against Boston because, any self-respecting Laker fan probably should hate Boston, right? So, and again, I got respect for Boston. I got respect for Boston and their history. But it seems like, and again, bro, if y'all out here, man, if y'all out there, and I'm calling all Boston fans, man, find me one of you guys that can talk basketball, because that's what, y'all have such a terrific history, right? Y'all have the 18 rings, the most in NBA history, and y'all love to bring it up anytime y'all down. Y'all love to bring it up every time y'all take a loss in a series. But y'all don't know y'all history, bro. Y'all don't know your history. And again, it doesn't mean anything. Like your history doesn't mean anything. Your history is not going to stop you from having a 500 million dollar payroll cost. That's without re-signing Al Horford. So when you hear, and again, this is Nick Wright for all his bronze sexuality. When I listen to him do a segment on the Boston Celtics and where do they go from here and their salary cap issues, he did a good job covering that, right? Basically, you got about 7 guys that make more than $30 million. Look, before we traded for Karl Anthony Towns, the Knicks had nobody, and we re-signed OG Anunoby. The Knicks had not one player making over $30 million. You guys got 5. That matters. I'll tell you something, that matters. Because again, you're in the second cap apron. You got repeated taxes and second aprons and all this other math is going to basically mean that the Celtics are going to have to pay $500 million to field the team. That's without re-signing Horford. Now, if you re-sign Horford, you know whatever he's gonna get, that's gonna even come way more higher. Whatever you're gonna get Horford to take. So it's a wild situation because I can assume you would, because Jaylen Brown's injury isn't one that should play over into the next season. But Jason Tatum's definitely will. Jason Tatum is going to be on your books. You're not going to trade him. You're not going to trade. The only thing you can, again, you can, if you do a salary for salary trade, you're still, all you can do is shave off money. And trading a Hauser for like a rookie, trading a Hauser or somebody. So everything that made y'all great, y'all can't fill this team again. Again, the mid-level exception is $14 million. So, you're not going to be able to use that. You're not going to be able to add to. You got bird rights on Horford, which means you can go and spend much as you want to pay. But that's again, that's the owners. They got to write the checks. You want to run it back on a team with no Tatum? See how far you go, and hopefully maybe you get Tatum back for the playoffs at a diminished capacity. This is what I'm talking about when I say your history matters nothing. Because what's going on right now, and again, those like a lot of Celtics fans, if you talk that stuff, wouldn't know what the hell you're talking about. But Knicks fans kind of do, because guess what? The grind to get us here, it meant we had to deal with a lot of rules changes. We had to deal with a lot of bad trades and a lot of going for it. And when you go for it, when you get that all-star, and the chemistry doesn't work, well, then you're just stuck with a lot of salary. And we're at the point where the salary cap is about to go up really, really, really high, right? Because the new NBC money, the new Amazon money, all that's being thrown into play. But it won't be like it's going up to $300 million right away, right? It's like at 140 something now, right? And again, you got baseball teams spending $400 million, right? It won't go up right away. And at the end of the day, you have to be fiscally responsible with your contracts. You have to have guys. So that means Boston probably going to sell off a lot of their pieces. It is what it is. And so, again, that history doesn't help you now. Because, again, we got, you talk about bird rights. That's the Larry Bird exception. That was a rule put in place so that the Celtics would not have to lose their franchise player, Larry Bird, because they just so happen to be a good team at the salary cap, which back in the 80s, you're talking 15 to 20 million for the whole team. You're talking a low number. I mean, I think in the 80s, this is late 80s. Early 80s, it was like 7-8 million. I don't think y'all guys understand the history of the game. So, look, we're here now. Again, these are dollars. They're going to reflect in, right now on the court. The Knicks got 2 more series, as I said. But I just want you Celtics fans to understand And again, like, why are we concerned? Well, we concerned about you because we were on your mouths a lot more than y'all were on ours. We didn't sit there. We just talked about getting to the season, getting to the playoffs. Yeah, there was a lot of, okay, the Knicks ain't going to beat the Celtics. I said, look, the Knicks can beat the Celtics. I said we got to play better. And for most important, we play better. Again, everybody, the Celtics got a 20-point lead every game. Okay? Having a 20-point lead in the middle of the third quarter, the game is not over in the middle of the third quarter. And again, this is what y'all need to understand. The Knicks have shown that they could be a comeback team, they could be a battling team. That's what we did last year. That's what we did last year in the playoffs. Even with a depleted roster, even with missing Julius Randle from basically the beginning of February on, missing OG and Obi all those games. That's what we did. Okay, not having Mitchell Robinson until right before the playoffs, and then him getting re-injured after someone injured him. He didn't just fall down. No, it wasn't a non-contact injury. It was a dirty play. It was a dirty play. I mean, you grabbed Joel Embiid grabbed, but meanwhile, we had to hear all the injury excuses from, again, Jason Tatum was a non-contact injury. All the Knicks injuries were contact injury. And I get Brunson breaking his left hand. Well, he was reaching, he swiped and he hit the bottom of someone's shoe. I forget who he was going up against. But Bogdanovich, it was Nick Batum falling on his ankle. Nick Batum took a tumble and fell on his ankle. Bogdanovich hasn't played a game since. He missed the whole season. Remember, that was the guy that we traded for Mikal Bridges. So we traded the guy who played 0 for a guy that played all 82. Those should show you that trade wasn't as bad as people think. Played all 82 and played strong in the playoffs and played the most playoff minutes. Let's go now. Let's go. That's hard. My God. And I know I've kind of been all over the place in this one, man. And this is what I do, man. I come outside. The weather's good like that right now. Take my little walks. I used to do it in the car. But now I'm taking walks. So, but I'm ranting on about some of these conversations, man. A lot of guys don't understand this. Y'all talk history. We got 8 tests ordered. This is the problem with basketball, especially NBA fans. All y'all know is rings. Well, I got rings. Bro, there's guys that didn't get rings that would fucking kill the guys that got 7 rings. Like, there's guys who didn't get a ring that would kill Derek Fisher. I had this debate the other day. I'm like, Eddie House won 2 rings, right? I believe he won the one with Miami. He won one with Chicago. With Boston. I believe he was on the Boston 08 But somebody said, like, I think Eddie House was a better player than Derek Fisher. Maybe not intangibles wise, but player for player. And again, Eddie House is one of these guys who, when I hear him talk, he said the Knicks had, coming into the series, he told you Celtics fans, the Knicks have 2 guys to rely on. So you guys came in the series not understanding, and that's what I'm saying. You guys came in the series not understanding that Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, you were gonna deal with them. I understood about Derek White. I understood about Cole Hauser. If I knew about Cole Hauser, why do you guys not know about fucking OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges? Are they all-star superstars? No. But if I knew about Cole Hauser and Nick Keita, and Xavier Tillman, what the fuck? Bro. But that's just the way it goes, man. NBA fans are most NBA fans are casuals and not diehards. I call for a diehard Celtics fan. There's a couple that I know, and again, I try to stay clear of. I ain't try to talk too much shit, because but I'm going to talk my shit. You know what I'm saying? But I got the vitriol for you casual Celtics fans. Bro, I think it's your media that feeds y'all. Y'all don't, bro, I'm looking for another fan base like the Knicks, and that's what the theme of this is, man. Y'all don't understand, bro. We live, eat, and sleep this fucking Knicks, bro. Those of us that go out there, some of them are just hang-on-runs. But these Knicks fans will fucking tell you about everybody on that squad. And I know you'll tell it, but the thing is, I know all about your squad, and I know all about the Pacers squad. I mean, Pacers, that's a basketball Bible Belt. So I believe the Pacers fans and the Pacers announcers and all that shit should be doing a good job covering the series and everything else. I think they know who the Knicks are. They should be cautiously optimistic. They should know that they're in for a battle. We're gonna see what we're gonna see. I'm gonna start listening to some chatter, man, and we're gonna see who knows what, and I'm gonna call it out as best I can. But all right, I'm gonna end this and let's go Knicks. I'm gonna tell you right now, Knicks are 5. Wouldn't be surprised if we sweep. Would be surprised if we went to 6 at Game 7, and that's just the way I feel. All right, peace.